Hello, Instagram family, my Facebook family. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Just waiting for Facebook to kind of catch up just a smidget. Welcome, welcome, welcome everyone to Business Strategies and Tips with Lady L. I am your host for today, and I am so excited about this week. We have been talking about tax exempt organizations, commonly known as 501s. There is more than just 501c3, there's others, but the main one that mostly everybody focuses on is the 501c3 because of its charitable benefits, its charitable services. So we are going to be talking about, we're going to jump into a similar subject than yesterday. We talked about developing your board of directors. Today we are going to talk about how to select and establish your advisory board for a tax exempt organization. Most larger tax exempt organizations, some mid-size and even some brand spanking new tax exempt organizations look to an advisory board for just that. Advisors. These are people that you have formed relationships over the years or that you're developing new relationships with because of the level of where these people are in their careers or in their experience, especially if they have been in the tax exempt organization arena. You're looking for people with expertise in the experience of having been in the what they call the nonprofit or the tax exempt sector. So these are people that you define the purpose for of what you're doing. You define to them your mission, vision, and purpose. And these generally are people, believe it or not, that come to you because they see the presence you have already put out. And they see that you're a worthwhile investment, that you're good ground to sow seeds into, and they want to give of their time, talent, treasure, and temple to you. So that is very important to, and first of all, it's commendable because that means that your services are getting out there, they're being effective, they are reaching the masses, and it has brought the eye and the attention of someone of influence and affluence that they want to hitch a ride on your wagon. So that's an awesome situation to be placed in. The advisory board members are non-voting members. They're not all up in your day-to-day. They're not, but what they do, what I love about being an advisory board member or being on a board of advisors is you get to see from the outside looking in. You get to see the feedback that may come from the people that are being serviced by the organization, and you like what you see. So it's really commendable to be an advisory board member because, like I said, you can give your expertise, you're giving your experience, and you see the passion for this mission, vision, and purpose being exemplified from the founders, from the people who are running the organization, and you can see where you can fit in and be an even greater asset to them. They have your best interest at heart solely for the organization. In other words, they see the vision, mission, and purpose, and they see the impact to the point to where they will have your best interest in heart in making sure that your organization, ministry, or business succeeds and succeeds well. The advisory board does not have any formal legal responsibility as well. That's what your board of directors is for. They handle the boots on the ground. They handle the formation. They handle the responsibility of the legalization of the organization. So some will have an advisory board, like I said, just so that they can see from the outside looking in advise, suggest, and recommend, and those suggestions you can take to your board and help stimulate the board in being more solution minded or being a little more assertive in your activities to get the work of the organization out there to the public. The advisory board does meet or convene, I would recommend, say, maybe once a quarter, as things, like, say, for instance, your organization is off the ground, you're doing well, you're, like, say, in your 5th year maybe, your advisory board will have that annual meeting, definitely an annual meeting, first of all, let me make that clear. The advisory board must meet annually, but in your developmental stages, your advisory board may meet on a quarterly basis or on a monthly basis, so that, again, they're on the outside looking in, and they can take the feedback of the results of what you're giving out and make recommendations and suggestions to help you advance and do greater things. They provide their expertise, their guidance, their business development insight. In most cases, the advisory board furnishes the entrepreneur or yourself with a group of expertise that can discuss opportunities, challenges, and next steps. Your advisory board helps keep your business plan kind of fresh. The advisory board can also bring new ideas, new incentives. Again, they're fresh eyes, so they can give you a better perspective of some of the direction that you may want to consider going. At the end of the day, I'm like my bishop mama. The final decision, my final authority is God. So, I take to, our private prayer time, and I say, okay, God, what you think about this? Is this in line with the direction that you have intended for this business or this ministry or whatever it is that you're doing? But even the Word of God gives us, in the book of Proverbs, advises us to make sure that you're surrounded with good and godly counsel, to make sure that you're seeking out that expertise. What I love about God, even God used experts to build every temple, whether it was the tabernacle that Moses built, whether it was the temple that Solomon built. God always gave specific detail, and he always recommended that you get the best in what that industry has to offer or what that person can bring to the table. Now, if God expects us to use gifted artisans to do the work he had, why would we settle for anything less than that? So your advisory board needs to have that level of expertise where they can really help push your organization, your ministry, your business to its next dimensions in its vision, mission, and purpose. The duties, responsibilities, and resources on behalf of the organization is very similar to the board of directors, but you must make them distinct in their different tasks so that there's no overlapping, there's no crossing over, there's no conflicts of interest. Keyword, conflict. You are minimizing conflict. There is a positive side to the left hand not knowing what the right hand is doing. The advisory board doesn't need to know everything that the board is doing, and the board doesn't need to know everything that the advisory board is doing. I say that because you want freshness to come from both boards into your organization, business, or ministry. You want to always have fresh eyes, fresh ears, fresh mindsets, fresh ideas, fresh innovation in your organization, business, or ministry. So each other doesn't need to know the direct activities of the other. They really don't necessarily need to meet conglomerately or in meaning all together. The board of directors is the board of directors because the advisory board does not vote on anything. So there's no reason to bring the two boards together for any reason whatsoever. The core responsibilities of an advisory board is you need to make sure there's some preliminary work you need to do before you even establish or even talk to anybody about establishing an advisory board. You need to make sure that you are clearly and concisely identifying the needs of what you want this advisory board to do. The first steps in the plan needing to identify what the company needs to achieve that the advisory board can help you achieve. That's first. Just like the vision, mission, and purpose, and you wrote it down and made it plain, You have to write these things down and make it plain, identifying clearly what you want this advisory board to do. Because if you came to me and say, well, Laverne, I want you on my advisory board, well, what do you want me for? You need to tell me something so that I can see if it's something that I want to attach myself to. As an example, don't y'all call me and get on y'all advisory board. I'm not going to do it. Draft duty descriptions. I don't like the word job. Job is just overbroke. You don't want people to think that this is another job. So you want to have duty descriptions. Make them plain, make them clear, make them concise. Again, so that there's no overlapping with your board of directors. Then you want to select a leader out of that advisory board. That person will be the one with the most experience in your industry. For example, there's an advisory board that I do advise, and the top person that they have at the advisory board is mega in the industry that this organization sits on. I am humbled by the experience of just being in this person's atmosphere because of the expertise, the experience that they bring to the table. So that's the person you want at the top of your advisory board. Again, like I stated, meet on a regular basis. If you're just starting out, you may end up meeting once a month. But from an advisory board perspective, if you meet with them every quarter and then definitely once a year, that should be sufficient. Set performance indicators, expectations, and goals for your advisory board so that by them being the eyes and the ears on the outside looking in, they can keep that fresh perspective going and making it an ongoing activity for them. It keeps them excited about being on the board. People that are on an advisory board like to see progress. They like to see things moving forward. When they're sitting on an advisory board and they don't see things going forward, you will lose them, because that's the whole purpose of an advisory board, to bring that freshness to the organization. Have guidelines for membership and procedures for removal, because people come and go. People are with you for seasons, reasons, and purposes. Very few are with you for a lifetime. That circle is always very small. Jesus had 12, but he also had 3, and then he just had 1 at the end of the day. So don't be looking for no whole massive numbers. Even if you are a large corporation, you still want to keep your numbers at a workable level, because too many voices, too many, what's that old saying, too many cooks in the kitchen spoils the brew. True. When I see a whole bunch of people in the kitchen, I'm out. I can't function like that. You know, chefs need creativity. They need space to be creative. Advisory boards need space to be creative. It's no different. Just any industry you find yourself in, sometimes the fewer the number, the better, because you get things done. What you need in mass is when it's time to do something large, like an event. That's when you need your team, your marketing team, your media team, your fundraising people. And that's when you need a big team. But when it comes down to setting up core aspects of the organization, business, or ministry, keep your numbers small. Finalize contractually with a non-disclosure agreement. Everybody that's going to put a hand on anything that you do, make sure that they have a non-disclosure agreement, because when that creativity is poured out, it is specifically designed for your organization. We have the same principles that go across ministry. When there are people that are serving in your area of ministries and in your massive organization of ministry, a non-disclosure agreement is critical, because you want to make sure that what starts in your ministry stays in your ministry. People don't belong to you. They belong to God. But the work he has given you to do belongs to you. So you need to make sure that that's covered with non-disclosure agreements, and depending on your industry and levels of where you are in your industry, you may want to take that to a legal height with your corporate lawyers and corporate accountants to make sure that you're staying in your compliances, because it is not as easy as it seems to acquire a 501c3. It may be from people who know how to process the application, with Success Beyond Strategies Enterprises LLC does, but it's very sensitive. You can lose your tax exempt organization quicker than you can get it. So, with that being said, thank you so much for joining me today with Business Strategies and Tips with Lady L. Please join me this same time tomorrow, 12 noon, on this same bat time, same bat channel. And I hope that this is being a blessing to you. If you have missed any portion of this from the actual live, please visit my YouTube channel, Lady Verne, Ladyverne, all one word. And you can always go back, listen to the previous recordings, take notes. I'm also available for trainings and workshops. If you need me to come into your business, organization, or ministry, we can sit down and get even more detailed and specific to your organization and your industry. With that being said, have a great Thursday. Thank you for joining me.